Hello, friends. My name is Jeff Miller. My husband David and I have been part of First Church since 2002, and I'd like to share a few thoughts with you based on the Isaiah 58 text and on the theme break. Some of you are old enough to remember when telephones were limited to a wired connection. You had to be near the phone to pick it up and get the message. Somebody might have to run outside and yell for the person needed on the phone, "The phone's for you!" If you were on a party line, you might pick up the phone and listen to somebody else's conversation. As children, my sister and I had fun by gingerly picking up the receiver and hoping to listen to Mrs. DeGregory, our next door neighbor, talk in Italian. If someone was calling with an urgent message, but you were not at home or available to pick up the call, or if the neighbors were tying up the line with endless chatter, your message was delayed or lost. If the person did not pay attention to the ring, communication with that caller in that moment was broken. It seems that the Israelites in the days of the prophet Isaiah had broken the lines of communication with the God who gave them their identity and their mission to be the chosen, the exemplary models of what God lovingly intends for all humanity. In Isaiah chapter 58, we hear a cry for repair of the broken communication between God and God's people Israel. Prayer and fasting was one discipline that God had suggested as a way to mend the breach of communication and relationship between the people and God. For a time, deny oneself of food and focus on the heart and soul's communication with the Creator. This was one way to keep the phone lines open and listen for the message. With a pause in one's routine to focus on God's loving presence instead of food, Isaiah calls the community to check for miscommunications and willful ignoring of God's message altogether. In this analogy, the prophet is the one yelling out the door that there's an important call waiting that someone is ignoring. The people appear deaf to their call to repair the breach of communication. The ritual of fasting had become a substitute for doing the will of God in relationship to those in need. Exploited workers, chains of injustice, those who are hungry and have no shelter. The people were making a show of their holiness while ignoring the needs of those for whom they were called to care. Isaiah is inviting them back to repair the communication and listen to what the Spirit was commanding them to do. The Lenten season is a time to listen for the phone to ring. Lent is a spiritual time of fasting, an opportunity to reinforce our lines of communications with the God who loves us and calls us to be loving. If the busyness of your life keeps you on the party line, unable to hear God's call because of all the other voices, you must ask them to be quiet for a while. It's much easier to make a show of our holiness, our commitment to commitment, than to actually calm our minds enough to sense what it is that God requires of us. God asks us for commitment to being the people of God in a world that is hurting in so many ways. And perhaps right now, we can also sense our call to raise the voice of Isaiah against those in power today. Be who God created you to be. Isaiah promises if we dare to take the call and listen, God will guide you always. God will satisfy your needs in a sun-scorched land and will strengthen your frame. You will be called repairer of broken walls. You will find joy in God. Hear our prayer, O God. Amen.